Well, that's it then. The season is finally over. The moment we've all been kind of counting down to, just happy to see it end. Look, you could say it's bittersweet, you could say it's been disappointing, whatever, but I think at the end of the day we're all just thankful that it is now over. We can put this season behind us, we can hopefully start afresh, clean slate, get things started next week, hopefully with managerial announcements, hopefully with other announcements, hopefully with an introduction to Dominic Mackay over the coming weeks. I'm just hoping for this clean slate, but today I think we can all just agree that we're happy to see the back of this season. We're happy that it's all over. And what was meant to be one of the most historic seasons in Celtic's history, and one of the most celebrated seasons in Celtic's history, we managed to make it one of the worst. One to forget, one that's just been, and I'll use the words of Neil Lennon here, bitterly disappointing. Week in, week out, we've came on in these match reviews and we've spoke about the exact same things. I label this series 3 things we've learned. And I guess we can maybe sit down today and use that 3 things we've learned as a 3 things we've learned about the season rather than the game. But at the end of the day, we've come on every week and done 3 things we've learned. And ultimately, I feel like we've learned nothing. This season has spoke volumes as to problems that have been at Celtic for years that we've just kind of ignored through success. Underlying issues that have been there both on and off the park. They're the things that we've learned. And are the things that we've seen week in, week out. We've learned nothing new. We've had spikes of hope. We've had moments that we've maybe went, that'll do, that's nice, we'll see positives. But ultimately, every time I've sat down to do a 3 things we've learned this season, it has been met with the same criticisms and the same shortcomings as the week prior. We've been poor all over the park. We've been poor off the park. And those situations haven't been fixed. We could identify them as early as Ferencvaros this season, and now here we are. We could have identified it after we drew at Rugby Park right back at the start of the season, and here we are. We could have identified it after Prague, and here we are. We took so long to make decisions that were for the best of the club, and we have seen the consequences of that, and it all comes to today. We went through 38 games this season where, as I've said, week in, week out, we've spoke about the same problems. There's been a split divide in fans. There's been fans who've seen it, called it out and asked for action. There were fans who naively sat through it, thinking that it was all going to be okay. There have been fans that have been supportive in the comments section. There have been fans who have been very much against me in the comments section. And to those fans, we sit here today now, and I ask you, was this all worth it? This whole season, was it worth it? I know we've just came off the back of a historic quadruple treble. I understand that, but today could have been a day where Celtic created a legacy, created history, and ultimately gave us one of the best days of supporting Celtic. But instead, we took long enough to make decisions that were for the right of the club, and the performance today kind of encapsulates that. First half, we were entertaining. I thought we could have done a little bit better in front of the goal. But ultimately it was flat. We didn't take our chances in the first half. Second half we were flat. We didn't look as though we were hungry in the game. We just seen the same issues that we've seen time and time again this season. When you can control the ball and you don't do anything with it, you don't get anything from it. So this video can be used as a kind of season review sort of thing. But we'll keep that. We'll save that for the rest of the week. We're going to have a season review for Celtic. We're going to have a season review looking back on my predictions from the start of the season, which I'm sure Rangers fans will love. We're going to have a video looking at the players who've been the best this season, been the worst this season. Everything like that will come throughout the week. We'll get our end of season content all wrapped up. We'll probably do our team of the year video and such as well. But this is 3 things we've learned. This is the match review for Celtic against Hibs, or Hibs against Celtic, and the 0-0 draw that we have just seen. I'm just extremely happy that that's the season over with. I feel like it couldn't take much longer of it. And it was a slug. It was just terrible. Look, a lot of the issues, I've already kind of alluded to this, but a lot of the issues that we have seen all season were in that performance today. And in that kind of game today altogether. John Kennedy was given this job. This was his 10th game in charge, I believe. He was given that job to take us to the end of the season and kind of prepare us for what is going to be a rebuild of epic proportions. Something that I don't know if we're quite ready for. Honestly, I don't even want to think about it realistically at the minute. I want to think of it optimistically. Thinking of it realistically is actually quite a scary thought. But John Kennedy had a duty, I think, a job, a role to set us up for this rebuild. And honestly, we're nowhere better off than where we were when Lennon left the club. We've not changed. It's the same. We played Hibs today in a game that meant absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. No one was playing for anything. Hibs secured 3rd place. We'd secured 2nd place. Nothing was going to change. And John Kennedy fields the same team that has let us down, and the same players who have let us down game after game this season, when had a chance to maybe experiment, give some players some time, assess the players that are going to be here next season, and assess players who are going to be here for maybe a great amount of the future here at Celtic. He had a great chance to play a lot of them today, and he didn't. Scott Brown, of course, his last game for Celtic, I didn't expect us to drop Scott Brown for a game like this, but playing him for the 90 minutes, when you've got players like Sorrow on the bench, it makes no sense to me. Sorrow's going to be here next season. He's going to be a part, and maybe even an integral part of this rebuild. The players like Adam Montgomery, who played for 60 minutes or so on Wednesday night, didn't see a sniff today. Carabao Dembele scored on Wednesday night, didn't start the game today. We're bringing off Odsonne Edouard to bring on Leigh Griffiths, which makes no sense to me because Leigh Griffiths leaving the club as well, I assume. So we're giving this a last hurrah to a lot of players for the sake of it, when we could really be putting ourselves in a bit of a better position for the very bad position we're in, but a bit of a better position to set us up for next season. And we don't do that. And it's really frustrating because we haven't learned our lessons throughout the season. We spoke week in, week out about how we had to change our team selection, about how we had to give other players chances, and we did it at points. We finally got people like Turnbull and Sorrow into the team, and we've seen the positives of that. So we learned that maybe that's the right thing to do. And then we reversed that, and now when we're at the tail end of the season, we've secured 2nd place and there's nothing to play for, we go through the same mistakes, and it's even more frustrating today on the final day of the season. For me, it has been questionable from start to finish. It has been an unmitigated disaster from start to finish. And today, with the way that we handled things, with decisions and how we played in the park, it just summed all that up. So I'm very pleased to see the back end of it. In terms of the performance itself, first half we didn't do much wrong. In fact, quite unlucky not to have a goal. Odsonne Edouard's free kick being chopped off, and we created, we done things well. We held the ball, and we actually looked entertaining at points. Yunusi really should have had a goal. Took too many touches round the keeper, overthinking it a little bit, and then ends up putting it wide. But it gave me a bit of encouragement for the second half. But then, what else is there for Celtic to do but to go out in the second half and not perform the way they did in the first? Where have we seen that before, Where have we seen that? It's not like it's been happening all season. We don't have a sense of consistency in this team. We don't have a sense of rhythm. There was players in the park. I thought Cal McGregor was good today. I thought defensively we weren't really worried at all. We didn't seem stretched or much at any point. Hibs had a couple of chances, but it wasn't too worrying. So, Barkas keeps a clean sheet, the defence keep a clean sheet. That's not too bad. You can look at that as a positive. But, there was no sense of desire in that team today. There was no real urgency. And it's just the same issues that we hear time and time and time again throughout the season. So when it comes to 3 things we've learned, I think the 3 things that we've learned from today's game is just, once again, as I said at the start, the same 3 things that we speak about week in, week out, and that's how I would sum up 3 things we learned today. I would sum it into one big thing that we've learned, and that is, 2 things that we've learned. Thank God we're at the end of the season. I think we've learned that the end is a nice feeling. But the second thing is just, we brought this on ourselves this year. We did nothing to fix it as a club. The fans, a lot, and I appreciate all the fans that did alongside me, who was saying week in, week out, we need change, we need to do this, that, next thing. I appreciate all the fans who have been saying that. Not saying that as if I've been the leader of that or anything, you know what I mean. But, that today we learned that, these problems have been caused by Celtic themselves, are deep-rooted issues that need eradicated. I'm very happy with at the end. A 0-0 draw, nothing much to talk about. It's the end, and usually the last 9 years we've been used to a last game of the season where it's been a bit exciting. There's been joy going into the trophy lift, and we've been scoring goals and this, that, the next thing, bar maybe 1 or 2 of them. It's a completely adverse feeling today, isn't it? It's just completely different, and I hope it's something we don't need to get used to. I hope it's something we don't get used to. We didn't deserve anything this season. We were poor. And if we wanted anything from this season, we should have made the big decisions back in October time. Maybe even before that. As some would say, maybe Ferencváros. But we're here now. We've paid the consequences. Farewell to Edouard and all the rest of them. I'm going to miss yous. Great players. I mean, a lot of people giving it thank God Edouard's last games today, Patter. Absolute nonsense. Just nonsense. One of the best players we have seen at Celtic over the last 10-20 years. 80 odd goals in 4 years at the club. Just a marvellous player. Ayer, if he goes as well, an absolute joy to have at the club. Brown, of course, maybe this season we take away from that, but Brown has been an incredible servant and an incredible captain to the club. But it's the end of an era. It is, and this is it. This game feels like the end of an era. And you could say the end of the era was the era when we were winning, but this truly is it now, isn't it? This is properly it. A lot of the faces are leaving. We're going to see a lot of new faces. It's over. Thank God. Not thank God. I enjoyed the era, apart from this year, but thank God we're getting a new start over the next few months, I hope. Make sure to like and subscribe. It has been dire. I do apologise for the negativity throughout the season. I'm hoping we can be positive next year. I'm hoping we can be positive through the summer, especially with Scotland at the Euros. But if you've enjoyed, thank you for watching all season. There will still all sorts of content this week. Don't worry. Like and subscribe, as I said, and I'll see you all next time.